The Yes Ladder. The Yes Ladder is one of the most powerful psychological hacks in existence. Originated centuries ago by master persuaders, this technique works by getting someone to agree to small, innocent requests before leading them towards your actual goal. The magic happens because each yes creates a tiny psychological commitment. Our brains hate inconsistency, so after saying yes multiple times, people feel internal pressure to continue agreeing. Here's how it works. Start with absurdly simple questions that nobody would refuse. Beautiful day, isn't it? Do you enjoy saving money? Would you like to hear something interesting? Do you care about your family's security? Is quality important to you? Would you like to see our top-rated security system? And suddenly you're installing a new alarm system. The psychology is fascinating. Each yes activates what researchers call the consistency principle, our deep desire to maintain consistency between our statements and actions. What makes it so effective is that the initial questions feel completely disconnected from the final ask. The yes ladder bypasses our natural defense mechanisms because we never see the manipulation coming. But here's an important tip. Your early questions must be genuinely easy to agree with. If they detect manipulation early, the whole ladder collapses. Master persuaders keep early questions relevant yet obvious, creating what feels like a natural conversation rather than a calculated sequence. The confidence loop. The confidence loop is the ultimate fake-it-till-you-make-it cheat code. It's a self-reinforcing cycle where displaying confidence actually creates real confidence. The loop works because your brain can't easily distinguish between genuine confidence and well-acted confidence. Project it convincingly, and your internal chemistry actually changes to match. Harvard psychologist Amy Cuddy discovered that holding power poses for just 2 minutes increases testosterone by 20% while decreasing stress hormones. This creates a biochemical foundation for actual confidence. Your confident body language then influences how others respond to you, which further boosts your genuine confidence, strengthening the loop. To activate this cheat code, stand tall, maintain steady eye contact, speak clearly without rushing, and genuinely smile. Even when you're nervous internally, these external confidence signals trigger positivity in others who then mirror it back to you. The remarkable aspect is that this performance quickly transforms into reality as your brain chemistry shifts. What makes this particularly effective is that confidence serves as a universal status marker across cultures. We instinctively trust and follow confident people because confidence traditionally signaled competence and leadership ability in our evolutionary past. When you deliberately project confidence, you're tapping into one of humanity's deepest social instincts. Try this before your next important interaction. 2 minutes of power posing in private, followed by confident body language in public. You'll be amazed how quickly the confidence loop establishes itself. Name magic. Name magic leverages one powerful truth. A person's name is their favorite word in any language. Dale Carnegie famously wrote, "Remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language." This isn't just flowery language, it's neurologically accurate. Brain scans show unique activation patterns when people hear their own names compared to hearing other words. The technique is simple yet remarkably effective. Use someone's name naturally throughout your conversation, especially at pivotal moments. That's an excellent point, Michael. Jessica, I completely agree with your perspective. This creates instant rapport and makes the other person feel singularly important. Here's why it works. From childhood, our names become deeply tied to our identity and self-worth. When someone remembers and uses our name, it signals that we matter enough to be remembered. This triggers a small dopamine release and creates an immediate positive association with the speaker. The most effective name magic practitioners follow specific rules. Use the name early in conversation to establish connection. Sprinkle it naturally throughout. 2 to 3 times in a short interaction is plenty, and definitely use it when concluding. Too many repetitions sounds manipulative or robotic. Restaurant servers who use this technique average 14% higher tips. Politicians who master name magic consistently outperform those who don't. Even in everyday interactions, you'll notice people leaning in more attentively when you've just used their name. The caffeine nap. The caffeine nap might be the most counterintuitive productivity hack ever discovered. It works like this. Drink a cup of coffee, then immediately take a 20-minute nap. This seems completely contradictory. Caffeine keeps you awake, so why would you try to sleep right after consuming it? The genius lies in timing. Caffeine takes approximately 20 to 30 minutes to enter your bloodstream and block adenosine receptors. By napping during this window, you're doing something remarkable. Your brain naturally clears adenosine during sleep, and then just as you wake up, the caffeine kicks in to prevent new adenosine from binding. The result is a double whammy of alertness that far exceeds what caffeine or napping could achieve alone. Japanese researchers found this combo improved performance on cognitive tests by 34% compared to just caffeine, 8%, or just napping, 11%. NASA pilots showed a 100% improvement in alertness using this technique during long flights. The execution is critical. Use a timer set for 20 to 25 minutes maximum to avoid entering deep sleep, which causes grogginess. The coffee should be consumed quickly right before lying down. Some people even cool their coffee slightly so they can drink it faster without burning their mouths. What makes this hack particularly valuable is its application during the dreaded afternoon slump, that 2 to 3 p.m. period where productivity naturally dips due to circadian rhythms. The strategic caffeine nap can completely eliminate this dip, effectively giving you back hours of productive time each week. The walking papers trick. The walking papers trick might be the funniest yet most effective office cheat code ever discovered. Works on a simple principle. Carrying a stack of papers while walking purposely through an office creates an illusion of importance and busyness that people instinctively respect. Office workers report near magical results. Need to avoid your chatty coworker? Grab your walking papers. Want to skip a boring meeting? Apologetically gesture to your walking papers while hurrying past. Need to leave early? Walking papers under your arm signal important business elsewhere. The psychology behind this is fascinating. In corporate environments, paper still symbolizes actual work, and movement implies urgency. When combined, these visual cues trigger an automatic assumption of importance. What's remarkable is how well this works even on executives and managers who should theoretically know better. For maximum effectiveness, add a slightly furrowed brow and brisk pace. The papers should be varied in size and color for added authenticity. Bonus points if you occasionally check your watch while walking. The walking papers trick works because humans are incredibly susceptible to visual shortcuts when assessing others. We unconsciously associate certain visual patterns with importance, and this technique exploits that tendency perfectly. Even in our digital age, physical papers still carry this symbolic weight. While somewhat amusing, this hack reveals something profound about workplace psychology and how much of our professional interactions are based on shallow perceptions rather than substantive evaluations. The Curiosity Gap Opener. The Curiosity Gap Opener exploits one of the most powerful forces in human psychology, our irresistible need to resolve unanswered questions. When you create a gap between what someone knows and what they want to know, their brain literally cannot rest until that gap is filled. Top YouTubers, TED speakers, and best-selling authors all use this technique to hook attention instantly. Rather than starting with a complete statement, they open with something like, "I discovered a morning habit that doubled my productivity and it takes just 3 minutes." Or there's a conversation technique that makes people instantly trust you, but most people do the exact opposite. The neuroscience is fascinating. When presented with an information gap, our brains release dopamine, the same reward chemical triggered by food and sex, which creates a genuine craving for the missing information. This craving can override almost any distraction. What makes this technique particularly powerful is that curiosity gap creates intrinsic motivation rather than extrinsic pressure. The listener generally wants to hear what comes next, rather than feeling manipulated into paying attention. For maximum effect, your curiosity gap should be specific enough to trigger interest but vague enough to require further explanation. I'm going to show you my memory technique is too general. I'm going to show you my memory technique that helped me memorize a 1,000-digit number creates an irresistible gap. The best communicators continue opening small curiosity gaps throughout their presentations, maintaining engagement through a series of mini mysteries and satisfying resolutions. Social proof shuffle. The social proof shuffle leverages humanity's deepest tribal instincts. We are hardwired to follow what others like us are doing. This isn't weakness, it's an evolutionary shortcut that saved our ancestors from having to test every barrier or path themselves. This cheat code works by deliberately highlighting that others similar to your target have already made the choice you're suggesting. The magic happens because this bypasses logical decision-making and activates much older, faster neural pathways tied to group belonging. The technique appears everywhere once you notice it. Join over 10 million subscribers. Best-selling product. Customers who bought this also bought. These aren't just bragging points, they're carefully calculated triggers for your conformity instinct. What's fascinating is how specific the similarity needs to be. General popularity helps, but targeted social proof is far more powerful. Telling doctors that 90% of physicians in your specialty do something is dramatically more effective than citing general medical statistics. Real-world experiments show the stunning power of this technique. In one hotel study, simply changing "please reuse towels to save the environment" to 75% of guests who stayed in this room reused their towels increased compliance by 33%. The specific room reference created stronger similarity and thus stronger influence. Even in everyday situations, casually mentioning that others have made the same choice can dramatically increase your persuasive impact without appearing manipulative. It's like a psychological shorthand that says this path is pre-validated. The foot in the door mini commitment. The foot in the door mini commitment is the stealthy cousin of the yes ladder. Instead of seeking verbal agreement, it focuses on getting small actions that psychologically pave the way for larger commitments. The technique is named after old school door-to-door salespeople who knew that if they just could get a foot in the door, conversation rates skyrocketed. Here's how it works. Request a minimal, almost trivial action before you actually ask. Could you just hold this for a second? Would you mind signing this quick petition? Could you take a quick look at this paragraph? These seem innocent, but they change everything that follows. Once someone has taken even the smallest action on your behalf, they subconsciously reframe their relationship with you. They've now invested, however minimally, in your request. This triggers what psychologists call self-perception theory. We look at our own actions to determine our preferences. I help this person, so I must like them or support their cause. In a classic study, researchers found that people who agreed to a tiny request, putting a small driver safety sticker in their window, were 400% more likely to later agree to placing a large, ugly sign in their yard for the same cause. The initial action created a powerful self-perception as someone who supports traffic safety. What makes this technique particularly effective is that, unlike direct persuasion, which often triggers resistance, many comments fly under the radar. They don't feel like manipulation, but instead like normal social interaction. The most ethical and effective applications focus on genuine alignment, using this technique to help people act consistently with values they already hold, rather than manipulating them against their interests. The mirror move. The mirror move taps into one of the brain's most remarkable features, mirror neurons. These specialized cells activate when we see someone else perform an action, creating a neural echo as if we were performing it ourselves. This physiological mechanism is the foundation for human empathy, and when you deliberately mirror someone's body language, you're hacking this system. Here's how it works. Subtly match the other person's posture, gestures, speech patterns, and energy level. If they lean forward, you lean forward after a short delay. If they speak softly, gradually match their volume. If they cross their arms, you might cross yours. This creates an unconscious sense of harmony and similarity. The neuroscience is remarkable. When you successfully mirror someone, their brain actually registers you as more familiar and trustworthy. It activates the same neural networks involved in recognizing family members and close friends. The person feels understood without knowing exactly why. What makes this technique powerful yet tricky is the subtlety required. Obvious mimicry will be detected and creates the opposite effect, distrust and discomfort. The mirroring should be delayed by a few seconds and never exact. It's an art of resonating with someone rather than copying them. Professional negotiators who master this technique report significantly better outcomes. One study found that servers who mirrored their customers' exact words when taking orders received 70% higher tips. The mirror move works in virtually any interaction. It creates a neurological bridge between you and the other person, establishing rapport at a level deeper than conscious awareness. Gratitude glow. The gratitude glow might be the most genuinely beneficial cheat code on our list. Unlike techniques designed primarily to influence others, this one transforms both you and those around you through the expression of authentic appreciation. The technique is simple yet profound. Regularly express specific, genuine gratitude to others, not just generic thanks, but thoughtful acknowledgement of particular actions, qualities, or impacts. I really appreciated how you took extra time to explain that concept. It made a huge difference in my understanding. The science behind this is remarkable. Expressing gratitude activates the brain's reward pathways, releasing dopamine and serotonin for both the giver and receiver. This creates what researchers called a positive feedback loop, where gratitude begets more positive interactions, which create more opportunities for gratitude. What makes this particularly powerful is that gratitude stands out in our complaint-filled world. A sincere thank you cuts through the noise of daily negativity, making both parties feel seen and valued. Studies show that workers who feel appreciated show 50% higher productivity and 67% more engagement. The technique works best when it follows 3 rules. Be specific about what you're thankful for, explain the impact it had on you, and make eye contact during delivery. Perhaps most remarkably, practicing gratitude rewires your brain over time. Regular expressions of thanks have been shown to reduce anxiety and depression while improving sleep quality. It's a rare win-win technique that benefits everyone involved. The no deflection. The no deflection is a masterclass in conversational aikido. When someone says no, most people either give up or push harder. Both poor strategies. This technique instead absorbs the refusal and redirects its energy, keeping the interaction flowing without triggering defensiveness. Here's how it works. When you hear no, respond with a question or understanding statement rather than opposition. I understand completely. May I ask what specific concern led to that decision? Or, that's totally fine, just out of curiosity, what would make this more interesting to you? The psychology is fascinating. No creates psychological safety and control for the responder. Fighting against it threatens that safety and triggers defensive reactions. By accepting their no and redirecting the conversation, you allow them to maintain control while still moving forward. What makes this technique particularly effective is how it transforms the dynamic from adversarial to collaborative. You're no longer trying to overcome their resistance. You're exploring it with genuine curiosity. This often reveals the real concerns behind the refusal, which may be very different from what you assumed. FBI hostage negotiators use this technique extensively, asking open questions after refusals rather than making demands. Sales professionals who master the no deflection report conversion rates 32% higher than those using traditional objection handling techniques. The key is authenticity. Your response to no must come from genuine respect for their position, not as a manipulative tactic. When done correctly, the person often feels more comfortable with you after refusing your request than before, creating openings for future interaction. The time tax trick. The time tax trick is a powerful mental model rather than a specific technique. It's the understanding that everything valuable in life comes with hidden costs, what we might call taxes, and accepting these costs up front changes your entire relationship with success and failure. The concept works like this. Recognize that every achievement, relationship, or opportunity carries inevitable downsides. Success brings scrutiny, fame attracts critics, wealth creates complexity. These aren't unfortunate side effects, they're the built-in costs of the benefits. The psychological impact is profound. When you expect and accept these taxes, they lose their power to discourage or surprise you. Of course, the big project means less free time right now. Naturally, as my business grows, I'll face more competitors. This isn't pessimism, it's clear-eyed realism that prevents disappointment. What makes this mental model particularly valuable is how it reframes setbacks. Instead of seeing problems as signs of failure, you recognize them as simply part of the package, the tax you willingly pay for the benefits you seek. This creates remarkable resilience in the face of challenges. Successful entrepreneurs consistently report that this mindset was crucial to their ability to persist through difficulties. Rather than being derailed by inevitable problems, they saw them as confirmation they were on the right track, paying the necessary taxes for the rewards they sought. The time tax trick also helps with decision-making. By considering the full package of benefits and costs together, you make more realistic choices about what you truly want, rather than chasing benefits while ignoring their associated taxes. The DM Opportunity Opener. The DM Opportunity Opener exploits a fascinating blind spot in modern networking. While everyone complains about crowded email inboxes and ignored LinkedIn messages, direct messages on social platforms remain remarkably underutilized for meaningful professional connection. The technique works by sending thoughtful, personalized direct messages that stand out precisely because most DMs are low effort or spam. I just finished your article on quantum computing ethics, and your point about algorithmic bias particularly resonated because of my work in AI safety. Would you be open to a quick conversation about the implications for regulatory frameworks? Psychology is compelling. A well-crafted DM creates what researchers call pleasant surprise, a positive violation of expectations that triggers heightened attention and reciprocity. When someone expects the usual, "Hey, let's connect" message, but receives something genuinely thoughtful instead, they're neurologically primed to respond positively. What makes this particularly effective is the contrast effect. Against a background of lazy outreach, even moderate effort appears exceptional. This means you don't need perfect messages. You just need to clear the very low bar of showing you've actually engaged with their work and have specific reason for connecting. This technique has 3 key components. Demonstrate you've actually consumed their content, express a specific point of connection or interest, and make a clear but low commitment ask. This combination signals respect for their time while still opening the door to deeper interaction. Successful users report extraordinary results. Mentorships, job offers, investment opportunities, and partnerships that began with a single thoughtful DM that stood out from the noise. Imperfect idol insight. The imperfect idol insight is a powerful mental reframe that transforms how you relate to role models and success stories. Instead of placing successful people on pedestals, this technique focuses on recognizing and embracing their humanity, flaws, mistakes, and struggles included. Deliberately seek out and focus on the failures and struggles of people you admire, not to diminish them, but to create a more realistic and instructive view of success. Even Oprah was fired from her first TV job. Einstein failed his university entrance exams. Steve Jobs was kicked out of his own company. The psychology is profound. When we see only polished success, we create what researchers call an attainability gap, the perceived distance between our messy reality and their perfect outcome. This gap often leads to discouragement or even giving up. By focusing on their struggles, we close this gap and make their path seem possible for us too. What makes this mental model particularly valuable is how it transforms role models from intimidating icons into useful maps. Their mistakes become learning opportunities. Their setbacks become proof of resilience. Their humanity becomes permission for our own imperfection. Studies show that students exposed to stories of famous scientists' failures and struggles showed significantly higher resilience in their own scientific pursuits compared to those who learned only about their achievements. The imperfect idol insight doesn't diminish true accomplishment. It contextualizes it within the full human story of struggle, failure, and persistence that actually produces success. This creates both inspiration and practical guidance rather than mere admiration. The chicken head sleep hack. The chicken head sleep hack is perhaps the most bizarre yet strangely insightful technique on our list. It references an old farming trick. If you tuck a chicken's head under its wing and gently rock it in circles, the chicken will fall into a trance-like sleep state. While not directly applicable to humans, please don't try chucking your head under your arm. It reveals a profound truth about the relationship between physical positioning, gentle movement, and the sleep response. The insight is that simple physical adjustments and rituals can dramatically affect our ability to fall asleep. Just as the chicken responds to specific physical cues that override its normal alertness, humans have similar switches that can be deliberately activated. The human application involves creating consistent pre-sleep positioning and movement patterns. This might include specific breathing patterns, 4-7-8 breathing, gentle rocking motions, shown to improve sleep quality in adults just as it does in babies, or particular sleep positions that your body comes to associate with sleep onset. What makes this concept valuable despite its quirky origin is how it highlights the powerful connection between physical positioning and mental states. Our bodies and minds are not separate systems but deeply integrated, with physical cues creating powerful neurological responses. Sleep researchers have found that consistent physical sleep rituals can reduce sleep onset time by up to 35% by creating strong associations between specific actions in the sleep response. Like the chicken responded to being tucked and rocked, our bodies can learn to recognize and respond to sleep cues automatically. While the chicken example is admittedly playful, it underscores a serious point about how simple physical interventions can hack our most fundamental biological systems in beneficial ways. The Zeigarnik Effect Exploiter. The Zeigarnik Effect Exploiter taps into a fascinating quirk of human memory. We remember uncompleted tasks better than completed ones. Named after psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik, this effect explains why cliffhangers are so effective and why that unfinished project keeps popping into your mind. Deliberately leave tasks partially completed at the end of your workday. Not in a stressful I'm behind way, but strategically, stopping at a point where you know exactly what to do next. For writers, this might mean stopping mid-paragraph when you know what comes next. For programmers, it could be leaving a function partially implemented with clear notes on the next steps. Your brain creates a mental tension around uncompleted tasks, what researchers call a cognitive open loop. The tension causes your subconscious to continue processing the task even when you're not actively working on it. When you return, you'll often find solutions have materialized seemingly out of nowhere. What makes this particularly powerful is combining it with breaks or sleep. The subconscious processing during these periods often produces insights and connections that deliberate focus can miss. Many famous creative breakthroughs have happened during breaks after intense work periods. Hemingway famously used this technique, always stopping writing when he knew exactly what would happen next, making it easier to resume and allow his subconscious to work on the story between sessions. Modern productivity experts recommend ending work days not at completion points, but at clear continuation points with notes about exactly what comes next. By deliberately exploiting the Zeigarnik effect, you essentially recruit your subconscious as a tireless background processor working on problems even while you rest. The contrast principle. The contrast principle exploits a fundamental quirk in human perception. We judge things not by their absolute value, but by how they compare to what came immediately before. This creates opportunities to strategically sequence information for maximum impact. Deliberately present information in a sequence that creates favorable contrast. The psychology is compelling. Our brains evolved to detect changes and differences rather than absolute values. This made sense for survival. Noticing a sudden movement was more important than the constant background, but it creates predictable biases in judgment. Real estate agents use this masterfully, often showing less appealing properties before the one they actually want to sell. The contrast makes the target property seem significantly better than if it had been shown first. Similarly, price negotiators often start with a higher figure to make their concession seem more significant. What makes this principle particularly powerful is that it works even when people are aware of it. Knowing about the contrast effect doesn't eliminate its influence on perception. Studies show that judges give more lenient sentences after lunch than before it. The contrast between hunger and satiation affects even highly trained professionals making consequential decisions. In everyday life, simple applications include sequencing requests, big then small, ordering presentations, problem then solution, and structuring negotiations, start higher than your target. By controlling the contrast, you influence perception without changing the actual content. That's all the real-life cheat codes for now. I'd love to hear in the comments which ones you've tried and any others you think should be included. Thanks for watching.